we're going to discuss the president's often inaccurate, politically dubious opposition against voting by mail. Now, since the beginning of the pandemic, many voting rights experts have warned that the country needs to change how it votes this November. The reasons are pretty self-evident. If the virus is still whipping through our society, the interest of public health would dictate that forcing millions of people to stand in line, some of them for hours at a time, to vote is a very bad idea. But almost as soon as those concerns began to percolate, so too did Trump's fervent denunciation of the proposed method of voting. You've probably heard him say it, or at least seen him tweet it, but he says vote by mail is a process open to fraud, though he's notably lied on providing any supporting evidence for that claim. The fight escalated this week, however, when he suggested that he would withhold recovery money from 2 states, Michigan and Nevada, if they didn't suspend voter applications by mail. Yeah, Jeremy, let me do that part over. Sorry, real quick. The fight escalated this week, however, when he suggested he would withhold money from 2 states, Michigan and Nevada, if they didn't suspend sending voter applications in the mail. But Francesca, the president's threat wasn't all that accurate. Why don't you tell us why?
Whoa, so this touches on all sides of town and all sides of politics. There's a lot here, and I'm so glad we're doing this today, Alex.
It sounds like a good topic.
Yeah, there's a lot. Okay, let's try and break this down. So the president first tweeted and said that Michigan was sending ballots to every single person in the state, which wasn't accurate. What they're doing is they are sending the form so that you can request an absentee ballot to every single person in the state. He then went on, as the White House press secretary said, to correct his tweet. She said, so the president corrected his tweet, as you noted during a White House press briefing. That is really significant because I'm not sure that I have ever heard the White House say that the president corrected anything. So they acknowledged that he was wrong.
Historic moment. Some would say it's a historic moment.
It is actually a very significant moment. So then they went on to say, though, that if you want to hear about the money that he's talking about or how he would even do that, she said that this is a campaign issue. She declined to respond to any of the other questions about this, sidestepped everything, which was also very interesting, as a reporter pressed her and said, but I'm asking you because you're the president's press secretary. You're the president's spokesperson, and wouldn't answer the questions, pushed him to the Trump campaign. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, this has been a very big issue for Congress because they're considering a phase 4 stimulus package. In that package, they included more than $3 billion for vote by mail efforts for states. At least the House did. The Nancy Pelosi dead on arrival bill included this money. And if they were to pass any sort of measure like this as part of the bipartisan bill, that would give money to states so that states could afford to have vote by mail. Because, Alex, as you noted, it's just a fact of reality that people are staying at home, states are currently closed, and that more people will be voting by mail. And we have states like North Carolina that are saying they can't afford that because the amount of money that it costs to send everybody the ballots and to process them. And even if people are coming to the polls, by the way, the PPE that they'd have to have, there's just so many issues involved in this, and I'm sure we'll unravel all of them. But that is the starting point of this conversation.
I mean, it sounds like, Francesca, look, I know the president says that he's worried about fraud and abuse of the system, but that at its core, he seems like, and a lot of Republicans will say quietly, that they're worried about the political implications of letting people vote. I mean, my question to you is, whether or not that's even justified, just purely on the politics, take away the substance of this for a moment and ask who actually benefits from vote by mail. And I'm not even sure that case is very clear. I mean, my own sort of research into the subject, and you will quickly find, like a lot of subjects, that things get complicated very fast. There aren't as many truths as in the research as you might hope for in a question like this. But a lot of people who have studied this issue, to cut to the chase here, say it's not really all that clear that Republicans don't benefit from vote by mail. And oh, by the way, there is no precedence for this situation. This is something I feel like we're talking about every week on this show, but nobody knows who would actually benefit turnout wise if people are scared about going to the polls because of a pandemic. You know, who stays home in that situation and who would be more likely to be helped by vote by mail. For all we know, it could be a lot of older Republican voters who would need this. And so that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this. It just feels like on a lot of points, on almost every different faceted of this issue, the president is maybe misguided.
So we do actually have one example that we can point to, and that was California in their special election when the Republican candidate still won. Right. When there was massive vote by mail. So actually in recent events, you could actually point to a scenario where a Republican candidate did win despite there being mostly vote by mail situation. You're totally right on the politics in that it's not exactly clear why the president has chosen to make this his issue, right? Like his big issue that he's very upset and been railing against, but it is the issue that he has picked. And yesterday he then went on in a meeting with Kansas's governor and Asa Hutchinson, the governor of Arkansas, to talk about this issue more. And he mentioned that it plays into voter ID and Republicans' belief that there should be voter ID in all of these states. You know, you have to show your identification to prove that you are who you say you are. His position on this was if you go to the polls, then they can at least check and make sure that you are who you say you are. If you're voting from home, he said, you don't know that someone else is signing the ballot. It could be the same person, as he said, again, and we should point out there's not evidence to suggest that this is happening, but that he said that he's worried that there are people who will get multiple ballots and sign them for all kinds of people and send them in, and the state won't be able to check that was actually the people who say that they are. And he laid that out in great detail yesterday afternoon. And I think that is also significant because it's the first time we've really heard the president explain his thinking on why he thinks that there will be ballot harvesting and what he called massive fraud.